Stop talking about comic books or I'll kill you. I don't care if the Hulk could defeat the Man of Steel.
Hey there, comic fam. Bullseye Bob here, and welcome to Everything Comics. And this is the 43rd episode of Having Comics with My Coffee. It's the show where we get together here in the Bob Cave, have some great coffee, and I talk about the comics that I picked up. And of course, this is the ones we picked up this last Wednesday on October 28th. Great week in comics. I'll just tip my hat right off the bat. I wasn't able to read all of my comics this week. I got through just about 60% of them, I think, so just a little over half, but enough to be able to pull out some great reviews, and so we'll get into those in just a moment. First of all, before we get into our reviews in the show, the coffee is brought to us today by the Refuge Coffee House. They are at 9217 Southeast Foster Road here in Portland, Oregon. It's one of the best coffee houses out here. They're friends of the show, and they sponsor us. And I just want to say thank you to Keith and Kimmy for being such a great sports and letting me film the show there at the Refuge, and then for supplying such great coffee going forward. But if you're in town, guys, ever, let me know when you're going to be here. We'll get together at the Refuge. We'll have some coffee. We'll talk comics, talk whatever you want. But it would be good to see you. And so this week we do have some announcements to go over. But before we do that, as always, there is a timestamp on the screen. If you'd like to skip those announcements and just go straight to the reviews, that is perfectly fine. So our first announcement this week is I hit 1,500 subscribers. I am still blown away by this. You guys, thank you so very much. I really appreciate all the support that I get from you guys, for this old guy to be able to hop onto YouTube and just talk about comics because I'm passionate about them. You guys seem to want to listen to what I have to say, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. 1,500 subscribers, never thought that I would get here. I'm looking forward to 2,000. I hope I do eventually get there. But right now, I'm just so very happy for those of you who do watch the show. I'm having fun with this. I'm not going anywhere. And so again, I just want to say thank you. Awesome stuff. So the next thing I wanted to bring up is the Battle Draft 2020. I know I mentioned it last week. I've talked to the guys, and we are going to have it Thursday night, November 12th at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. That's right, the Battle of Hell's Kitchen. It's going to be a fun time. This is basically, we have DC characters that have invaded the Marvel Universe, and so the guys are putting together their best street-level Marvel teams to battle the League of Assassins, and this is going to be a fun time. We have a special guest on this one. Sam from Sam's Tangle Web is going to be there. Can't wait. He is the Marvel aficionado, and if there's anybody that could draft a street-level Marvel team, it's going to be that guy. So anyway, stay tuned, folks. It's going to be a fun time. I'll announce it again in the next couple of weeks, but November 12th, 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, Battle of Hell's Kitchen, Battle Draft. It's going to be awesome. Next, this week, the monthly comic book review happened. It's one of my favorite times of the month where we get together with some of the best YouTubers out there when it comes to comic book content, and we talk about our best comics of the month. It's the monthly review for the month of October, and this time it was on the Hero and the Kids channel. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out on Hero and the Kid. This is where Bueller, Robbie from Pop Culture Philosophers, Dylan from Dylan's Comics, Hero and the Kid, and then yours truly all got together and talked about our favorite comics of the month, the ones we like the best. This one really revolved more around indies, which was kind of cool, but it was a great discussion. So you guys go check out Hero and the Kid. If you haven't given them any love yet, go check out their channel. They're putting a lot of great comic book content out. Give them a like and subscribe, but definitely check out the video. And then last but not least, you guys know I am on another show. I'm on Comics with Bueller. Last week, we celebrated the 100th episode of the brand new Coffee and Comic Show. That was such a fun time. If you haven't seen that video yet, go check it out on the Comics with Bueller channel. It was truly a special moment. We got a little emotional, and then there's even a little montage at the end of it, kind of showing how the show has progressed over time. But it really was a special episode. Go check it out. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because this Monday, there will be no brand new Coffee and Comic Show video. Bueller, after the 100th episode, he said, I'm taking a break. Much deserved, buddy. But we will be back the following week with our normal content there. I know he has something that he's going to put in place of it, but it'll probably be something from the past. I don't know. He always has something good planned. But the brand new Coffee and Comic Show will start back up with episode number 101 the following week. And of course, that's every Monday, 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come check us out, folks. All right, so there are announcements, and before we get into our reviews, we always like to get into our cover of the month. And this week's cover of the month is brought to you by TKO Studios. You can go to their website. I will have a link down in the description. They have a lot of great stuff on their website. Right now, they're rolling out their third wave of comic books, and there's some amazing stuff there. I've been watching some of the adverts for it. We're going to be getting some copies for review here shortly, but go check them out. They've got a lot of really cool horror stuff that's dropped on there, some cool sci-fi stuff, but it's all comic book goodness. And if you see something that you like at checkout, use the code EVERYTHING20 and you'll get 20% off your purchase. You can't beat that. So thank you to them. But our cover of the week this week comes from, of all books, The Last Ronin. Now, this was a book that I wasn't going to pick up. I ended up picking it up because I heard all the vibe about, books being shorted and all that. And I thought maybe this would be a good one to hop on just for a flip. I really haven't read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles since the old days when Kevin Laird and Eastman and Laird were still on the book. And it really hasn't, it hasn't been something that I've been on. I tried dipping my toe in when they introduced the character Jenica, and the artwork just put me off so much on it that I didn't even go forward with it. But The Last Ronin is out, and there is a cover. There's a bajillion variant covers for this, and one of them stood out to me as just being pretty awesome, and that's the variant by Gang. And here it is up on the screen. I just thought it was I don't know what struck me about it. I love the post-apocalyptic feel to it, the motion that's inside of it, plus the way this character feels. I don't know if they've revealed which one of the turtles the Last Ronin is, but I sure was excited about this picture because I think it just looks cool. I really love it's definitely a painting. At least that's what it looks like. It could be digital, but I really think it's a painting. And I just love the color and the composition of it. It really struck me and stood out above the rest. And so there it is. That's the cover of the week, folks. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our reviews. And for our first book, we have Dark Knight's Death Metal, The Rise of the New God. These titles are just going to keep getting longer. But anyway, this one done by DC Comics, this one written by James Tynion, and the art by Jesus Marino. Now, here's another one of these tie-in books to the death metal event that's going on, and I just love it because not only is this book a part of the greater narrative, but it also could be kind of a standalone. I think the Robin King was kind of like that as well. You could kind of read it and get the gist of what they're trying to talk about. And it's part of the greater narrative, but it doesn't really need to be read in order to understand the flow of the greater narrative, if that makes sense. But it's really well done. I really enjoyed it. This story kind of is outside looking in from the greater power that surrounds the multiverse called the Omniverse. And there's a character that comes in called the Chronicler. And he basically watches over, kind of like the Watcher, watches over everything and watches the deaths of multiverses and chronicles the history of what happens there. And he's watched millions of them die. So these events that we've been seeing inside of DC Comics all of the crisis events and all of the multi-verse events that have been going on is minuscule in the greater scheme of things. And that was kind of cool to see inside of this book. And so that's kind of like the narrative, but then the meta of the whole thing is it's kind of a treatise on comic books and in general DC Comics, and why DC Comics has stayed as long as they have, risen to the level of modern day mythology, and how that can be immortalized forever based upon what happens in the universe, or they could do it wrong and it would fizzle out and nobody would ever talk about it again. And it's kind of cool how Tynion is taking this story and also kind of making a commentary on the state of comic books or DC Comics themselves. It was just really interesting to see how they played it out. And so for that reason, that makes this book kind of a step above. You could read it and not even catch that, but I definitely did. And I had so much fun with it. All in all, this event from the very beginning has been so much fun. It's just been, masterfully done. And this one, I'm glad they put it into the hands of James Tynion, because his writing is just so. Here lately he's been killing it, and he was the right person to be able to tell this story and create that type of narrative with that allegory inside of it. So I really enjoyed it. The artwork I enjoyed inside of this as well. I thought it was pretty cool. I've never really got into Jesus Marino, but it really worked for this book. But all in all, look, this whole Dark Knight's Death Metal has been one where it just felt like, the keys to the kingdom were handed to these creators, and with the shackles taken off, you can do whatever you want, just make it good, and they have. And it's just taking the toys in the toy box and using them to their maximum capacity to have fun. And even the character, the chronicler, even makes a comment on how watching these deaths, they're all varied and interesting and fun. And he's talking about the multiverses, but that's what we've been seeing with the characters inside of the whole Dark Knight's Death Metal run. So anyway, I can't say enough about it. It's just been an awesome time, and I can't wait for the next book to come out. Okay, so on to our next book, and we got Shang-Chi #2 by Marvel Comics. This one written by Jean Luen Yang, and the art by Dyke Ruan, and then there's some parts of the art that have been done by Philip Tan as well. Okay, so here we are in book 2, and this is still surpassing all my expectations. Marvel has gotten into the habit of producing these mini-series that just don't mean anything. So a lot of times when they bring them out, I'm suspect, and a lot of times I don't pick them up because they don't pan out. And but this one is, like I said, so far surpassing my expectations, and it's a really fun read. So in the last book, we found out that Shang-Chi had a sister, and that sister is basically out to kill him. And we find out kind of the history behind their relationship inside of this book. Basically, when they were young, they were together. There was an incident where they kind of went behind their back on their father and, broke his wishes as far as what he demanded of them. And at that particular point, he separated them and told Shang-Chi that she was gone. Little did he know that while he was being trained up in his the secret society, there's 5 of them, she was being trained up in one of the others, and both of them were risen to the level of champion. And so that's kind of where we find inside of this book as to what happened, which was really well laid out, a lot of fun to read, great history, very intriguing, and I just really had a lot of fun getting into this particular story. And then we get to the end where we find that because of the fact that she was pulled away as a youngster, and she's always wanted her dad's favor, the flame has risen above his particular sect, which means he's supposed to be the ultimate leader now, and she feels slighted, and so it's her mission now to basically kill him so that she can finally get her due. And that's kind of where we're at inside of this book. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. It's really intriguing. Like I said, most of the time on these Marvel miniseries, they don't pan out, and I really hope that this continues in this light, because I'm digging it. I'm enjoying it. And so if you were on the fence like I was about it, I definitely give this one a pickup and try it out, because I think you'll like it. Okay, so our next book is Department of Truth #2, this one by Image Comics. of course written by James Tynion, and the art by Martin Simmons. Okay, this book is just going to be a fun ride. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Everybody raved about the first book, even me, and here we are on the second book, and it's just going to continue in this vein and light. It's progressed a little bit, but that's okay. In the first issue, we basically got the concept that there are conspiracy theories in the world, yes, but some of those conspiracy theories can manifest and be made reality if people believe in them enough. And so that's what the Department of Truth has been created for, is to kind of help suppress those memories so that those things don't manifest. Kind of an interesting concept. Really on board with it. There was a really cool reveal at the end of book one that just blew me away. But here we are in book two, and we start to explore another one of the conspiracy theories. In book one, we explored the JFK assassination, we explored flat Earth, and we explored the moon landing. And so in this one, it's about satanic ritual abuse or satanic panic. And I think they did a really good job of laying that out, because our main character, who's still unsure about all of this that's going on, starts to realize that one of the conspiracies out there was one that he was affected by when he was younger, had dreams about it and all this different stuff, and starts to wonder, was I really affected by this? And so goes to where these records are of all these conspiracies, and he finds out that in the past, this dream that he had was actually reported by other people. So he starts to understand that this thing is more real than he ever thought. And this is where it gets really fun. The artwork inside of this book, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think it works so well. It's kind of gritty and surreal. I'll use a word that Robbie from Pop Culture Philosopher said. He's visceral, is another word for it. And I think it works so well because it kind of feels like a dream state, but at the same time, there's the hard truth that's going on of it, that this thing is actually happening in the world. And then there's this other piece. I think that's another thing that Robbie said that's kind of seeping into your subconscious. And all of that is inside of this book. Very well crafted. It's James Tynion. Come on. I mean, he's just killing it. No matter what he touches right now is absolute gold. And this is no different. I can't wait for the next book to come out. He's fleshing out a lot of different things. And I think we're going to get just more conspiracies as we go along. And how he plays with those, I mean, anything goes. The feel of this book was much different than the feel of the last book. And it was just as good. So if you're not on this one, you definitely need to go pick up. The reprints are already coming out for the first book. You probably still find this one on the shelves. This is an absolute must. I'm telling you, this is a fun read. Okay, so now we're on to our next book, and that is The Flash, number 764. This one by DC Comics. This one written by Kevin Schnick, and the art by Will Conrad. So here we are in the second issue, post Williamson, and so far this is journeyman at best. I mean, it definitely, you can tell that not one of DC's star writers is on this book. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him, and it's an okay story. It's just not going to wow you. It's not anything to write home about. It's stuff that you've seen before. He just has a little tiny different twist on it. So in the writing, he basically uses, maybe too many words to express what he's trying to get across. He could definitely tailor it down and make it a little more streamlined. And Williamson did a really good job at that. He didn't have to get really wordy to express the concepts that he was trying to get across. Like I said, nothing to write home about, but it's definitely not the Flash that we've been used to. This story revolves around a Flash going up against Dr. Alchemy, which we've seen a bajillion times. That's okay. The small twist inside of this is that the Philosopher's Stone has been made into a ring, which makes it harder for Barry to take away from him, because that's all you have to do with that character. You just take away the stone, you take away his power. And so now it's a ring, and so Barry's going to have a harder time getting it away from him. And, cool concept, but again, nothing to write home about. Nothing's going to wow you. I'm going to give this book a couple more issues, and if it doesn't pick up and it just seems like they're going to let the Flash go, with a journeyman team for a while, I may take it off my pull list. Hate to say that because Flash is one of my favorite characters, and but that's just where I'm at with it. Do me a favor, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this current run of the Flash, this new writer. It's hard when a really good writer is taken off of a book. You always have high hopes for the next guy that comes along, and but this guy's just not doing it for me so far. But anyway, there I'm at with it. Okay, so on to our next book, and it's Nailbiter number 6. This one by Image Comics. This one written by Joshua Williamson, and the art by Mike Henderson. So yeah, right after the Flash, I'm reviewing a Williamson book. Go figure. Didn't plan it that way, but I'm just realizing. Okay, so the last book we left off with our main characters realizing that all these copycat serial killers that they're seeing, copycat Buckaroo Butchers, are playing a game that they created years ago called the Buckaroo Brawl. And this is back before Nailbiter was doing his serial killer stuff, but him and his wife, with a group of students, created a game where they basically looked at creating narratives with the Buckaroo Butchers, and the rules were you had to use the gimmicks of those particular butchers and come up with the most creative ways to kill people. And that's kind of the gist of it. And so here we are in the last book. They're realizing that all these copycat serial killers that they're seeing are playing it in real life. They're LARPing the Buckaroo Brawl. Great. I'm blown away by it, but they're terrified of it because they got a bunch of people out there that are actually killing people using the original motive operandus from these amazing serial killers that have been there in Buckaroo throughout history. And so that's where we're kind of at inside of this book. In the background, we still have this mysterious character that's kind of the one who is driving this whole thing. And each one of the people that these copycat serial killers are killing, this guy wants their eyes, which is kind of creepy. But we still are getting just a little more into that character. We got a little tiny bit more. They're salt and peppering the story so that it keeps that flavor, so that you're sitting on the edge of your seat waiting for what happens next. And I've just been loving this from the first issue. It's just been a fun time reading. I love all the different serial killers anyway, and even though we're post Buckaroo Butchers, to be able to bring them back in a way that doesn't resurrect them, but actually they're copycat killers. I thought this has been just a really cool vehicle to tell the story and to get to where we're at. Williamson's just an amazing writer, and I love the stuff that he does. I will say that Mike Henderson's artwork inside of this particular book, just like issue 5, felt a little more rushed than the previous issues that came before it. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe he thinks it's number 6. He can kind of like slack off and cut corners, but it's definitely not that detailed line work that I'm used to seeing out of the first 4 books. It's kind of just bare bones basic. And so I don't know what's going on there, but it's definitely noticeable to me. But all in all, this, again, when I first got into this book, it made me want to go get the original Nailbiter series, which is phenomenal. And so if you guys have been joining me on this particular ride, I hope you agree. This was a really fun read this month. So anyway, there it is. Nailbiters number 6. And I love it. Okay, so now we're on to our next book, and that is Batman: The Three Jokers, number 3 by DC Comics. This one written by Jeff Johns, and the art by Jason Fabok. Okay, so we're finally at the end of this epic we were all waiting for, and to be honest, I was left a little puzzled and underwhelmed by it. The first issue gave us a really good punch. We got some great relationship dynamics between Bruce Wayne, Jason Todd, and Barbara Gordon. We had one of the 3 Jokers killed right off the bat. We didn't have to wait for a big reveal of who the 3 Jokers were. They just gave them to us. And it's been fun getting to this point, but it seems like, and this is spoilers, complete spoilers. If you haven't read it, then, you should have. It's already Saturday. But really when it comes down to it, it just seems like this was used as a vehicle for Jeff Johns to create this moment between Batman and Joe Chill to have this kind of reconciliation type moment where you realize that Batman has transcended the hate that pretty much caused him to become who he is. And then you also see that Joe Chill is got a small redemptive story in the midst of all this. But I mean, did you have to use the whole vehicle, the three Jokers, to get there? That's where it starts to feel kind of trite and meaningless, because in the end, the relationships revolve right back to what they were before. In the end, we still have a Joker on the loose, and we have this thing that happened between Joe Chill and Batman, and then we get a little bit of a reveal that Batman has kind of known about who the Joker is all this time, but really nothing makes the world different when the story is ended. So it felt trite. It felt kind of like using a great vehicle in order to get to this one thing that you wanted to tell. And did you have to use that? Because I think it could have been used in such greater effect. I don't want to ding it too much. The artwork was phenomenal. I love the dialogue all the way through. I mean, the writing is masterful. Jeff Johns is amazing. But when it comes to the end of the book, the payoff just wasn't what I was hoping it would be, or what it should be based upon using something as great as a vehicle as this. That's just my opinion on it. So, I mean, again, the Bat universe goes on, but let's let the Joker die for a while, guys. Move on to Zaz, okay? Just move on to Victor Zaz or somebody else for a little bit, and just let the Joker kind of die out for a little bit. But anyway, there it is. 3 Jokers. That's my thought on it. All in all, it's a fantastically laid out as far as the artwork and the dialogue and the way the story is written. I just didn't like where it took us in the end. So there it is. Okay, so on to our next book, and that is Giga #1 by Vault Comics. This one written by Alex Packnadel and the art by John Lay. Okay, so this was an intriguing book. 2 of my favorite YouTube comic book reviewers have reviewed it this week. Robbie from Pop Culture Philosophers and Damien Sleepy Reader. And usually I don't like to watch their reviews before I do my own show, because what I'll end up this is just me. What I end up finding is that I start to pick up on their verbiage, and it starts to find its way into my take on the book or my verbiage on it. And I like to kind of keep that out of the way until my own voice is let on there. But this week I couldn't help it, because I was really wanted to see some of the reviews that came out this week. I mean, Tuesday night is very hard, because I usually have to skip through Robbie's review just to see what he thinks about it in the beginning. But then I'll go back and watch the whole video later on so that I can see his whole review on the book. And that's just the way I have to do it. But anyway, when it got to this particular book, after listening to both the reviews, I think I sit right in the middle between them. Of course, this was Robbie's pick of the week. And for Damien, this I think was his 4th book on this list, and I just love his subjective reviews that he does. So first off, I really loved the writing in this book. Not only does he do a lot of world building, but he also gives you some very heartfelt moments, which is kind of tough inside of a book like this. There's been a couple of people who've done it recently, I think, to really good effect, and this one does it as well. And the vehicle with which he does it is one of my favorite. It's the same vehicle that basically was used in Star Wars, where they drop into the middle of the story. They give you a lot of concepts around the edges of the story. And as you pick up on those concepts, the writer leaves it up to you to make leaps. Some people don't like that. I like that. I think it's part of the fun. When Star Wars came out, that was one of the things. It got a lot of these different concepts of different races and different people and different things that were going on, and it was up to me to make the leaps, and finding out that those things actually paid off down the road was just a lot of fun. And this book kind of does the same thing. It introduces different concepts that, it's very easy to make leaps along the way. So the story revolves around these huge mechs that at one time roamed the earth and basically had a war against each other. And at the end of that war, they all went dormant. Not dead, but dormant. And humans ended up taking up residence in their hearts and making these big, huge robots their home. So the cities reside inside of their homes. And not only is it their homes, but it's also their gods. And so that's kind of where we're at, and then we have a couple of characters that find one of these mechs or Giga murdered, and that's kind of where the story takes off from there. I mean, really cool world building. I was intrigued all the way through, and again, there are places inside of here where I had to make the leap, and I enjoyed that, but hopefully I'm right about those leaps. I guess that's the rub when you make an actual leap like that. But anyway, in the midst of this, there's this little side story between a boy and a robot that he has created. And there's just some heartfelt moments that are very subtle inside of that story. And I was blown away. I really think it's a good read. I'm definitely intrigued for issue 2 to come out. I love the artwork inside of this book. Colors were a little kind of surrealistic, maybe muddled a little bit. Maybe that was for effect. But all in all, I really dug this book. Can't wait for issue 2. Vault's putting out some really good stuff right now. Okay, so now we're on to my pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week, you already know it. It's Canto 2, The Hollow Man, issue number 3. This one by IDW. This one written by David Bueller, and the art by Drew Zucker. I know, it's probably getting old how much I talk about this particular title, but what can I say? I absolutely love it, and nothing else that I am reading evokes so much emotion inside of me than what this book does, and for that alone, I just have to give it props, because if you can take this medium and evoke emotion inside of me, after all these years of reading books and seeing just about everything that can be done, I think that's a fantastic feat. So this issue, with as much emotion as it evoked, I'll just say, I mean, it dang near broke my heart, this book. I'm not going to say how, I'm not going to say why. Definitely this is one of those things that you should read for yourself. But man, this book, I mean, it really hit home. Made me tear up. And the writing is just, I mean, when you can do that, like I said, it's fantastic. The journey is everything that you want in a good way, from a good adventure story. It just hits all those notes, and it is so well done. I mean, the writing by Bueller inside of this particular issue is phenomenal. He deals with the issue of narrative and how a lot of times the narrative that we have is the one that we've created, the one that we want, because of how we want to be remembered. And then other times our narrative is created by other people because they want to honor us. They want to leave something that's lasting, or they feel like they should. And all that's kind of enveloped into what happens inside of this book. And the way he does it is subtle. That allegory is there, but it is so masterful. It's so well done. And I mean, I can't say enough about this book. The artwork is kind of cartoonish, I'll give you that, but even Drew Zucker, the way he does the eyes in these cartoonish type characters, it really brings out what's going on without all of the lines that make up emotion. Just the eyes alone, he's able to bring out what Bueller is trying to get across with these characters. Guys, I love Canto. This is my pick of the week, hands down my pick of the week. And I mean, I hope you guys have been enjoying this particular title. If not, it's very easy to catch up, and I would encourage you to do so. But I'd say that this particular this one, number 2, The Hollow Man, is shaping up to be an even better story than the first one. And the first one is one of my top 10 reads of all time. So definitely check out these books. So that's the show, folks. And I mean, as you can see, I didn't have as many books as I normally do. I just wasn't able to get to my reading as much as I normally do this week. And normally I have a panel of the week. And I'll just say this, out of everything that I read this week, nothing jumped out at me. And I don't want to just pick an arbitrary panel and throw it up. That would be disingenuous. But I mean, really, truly nothing stood out to me. Nothing made me geek out. There, not even a splash page that was just like, oh wow, check this out. So I'm not gonna throw up a panel of the week this week. I will say that I'm still blown away by the 1,500 subscribers. You guys, again, thank you very much. Appreciate you watching the show. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you like the content that I'm putting out, please do me a favor. Hit that like button. If you're new to the show, hit the subscribe button and put that notification bell on so you know when the next video comes out. But guys, I really appreciate you watching. As always, support your local comic shop and Excelsior. Y'all take care, folks.
I'm gonna rearrange your face if you continue.